Hi, I'm Coach Jim Leland from Concord Fencing Club, CFC, and I'm here to talk to you about the remote training program that CFC has put together to help our students, members, and friends stay engaged with the sport and continue their training despite the social isolation that we're all trying to observe in order to help flatten the curve of the COVID epidemic. We know that we won't be able to get together to train for the next several weeks. And so the question becomes, what can we do individually in our own homes to help maintain our training so that we don't lose our fitness and we don't lose our mental fitness around fencing in preparation for what we hope will be summer nationals and a great season coming up next year. So our remote training program consists of a collection of recommended activities assembled in a daily training log that spans the 7 weeks of what would have been CFC's class session 5, extending into early May. So during this period, what we wanted to do was to give our students the opportunity to maintain their training and to follow these activities. And so the training log is designed to enable you to plan and then record the activities that you choose to do out of the recommendations that we make. In the beginning, these activities are going to be communicated primarily in the form of PDF handouts, similar to those that you might receive if you came in for a class in person at CFC under normal circumstances. Over time, though, we're going to ramp up and expand the scope of those recommended activities, and we're also going to try to supplement them with some explanatory videos just to make the material a little bit more engaging and interesting. So the remote training program is open to anyone who is a registered student or has made donation to CFC since the start of the COVID-related shutdown that we're all working through right now. We'll talk more about the details of that a little bit later. Next, I'd like to talk about the training log itself. This has been distributed already freely as a PDF and as a guideline. I'll hold it up here. There's a printout of the training log. You can see what we have across the top is a list of recommended activities, and then each row represents a day throughout the length of our 7-week training session. So I wanted to describe to you how we envision this training log being used, and then also talk a little bit more about the details, some of the activities that you'll see referred to briefly here in the log itself. So the way that we envision using this training log is, first of all, as a planning document, and secondly, as a record. So as a planning document, you're going to look at the range of activities that are available to you and decide which ones you'd like to participate in. And then you can go through ahead of time and plan when is going to be a convenient time for you to do footwork drills, to do target practice, to participate, and when are activities that have been announced and scheduled that you want to make sure that you make time in your calendar to be able to dial into a watch party, for example. And so the first step is planning. Just take a highlighter, perhaps, go through the document and make your plan for the session. The second thing is, as you go along, you can check those activities off when you actually complete them. Maybe your schedule will change, and that's fine. The whole program is designed to be flexible, but to give you enough structure to help these things from getting away. If we don't plan, our best intentions often come to nothing because time has a way of slipping through our fingers, and we could very easily get to the end of this 7-week period and say, oh, I really meant to do more footwork. Well, this is a way for you to proactively commit yourself to doing specific things on specific days and then follow through. Now let's take a minute to look at some of the specific recommended activities that are included in the training program that we put together for you. These have been divided into 4 main areas, 4 dimensions of fencing instruction and training. And that is theory, tactics, technique, and training. So we've divided the activities into those 4 categories: theory, technique, tactics, and training. And we've grouped them together accordingly in the training log. And under each heading, we have 2 or 3 specific activities that we're going to be recommending and helping you with, and then some space for other activities that you may come up with yourself in that category. So as you go along, we want to look now specifically at some of the activities that are already available, that we've already communicated to our RTP subscribers. The first category is our training and fitness category. This is going to be led off by a series of videos put together by Coach Tori Anderson. Those should be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to seeing them. We also have a couple of handouts relating to footwork exercises. The first one is titled Simple Exercises, and I hope and I think that they should be pretty much self-explanatory. There's 3 exercises that you can do in a limited amount of space, and that almost any fencer should be able to understand and execute without needing a lot of explanation and direction. Nevertheless, they should be very valuable if they're performed in a consistent way as part of your overall training. The second handout is one that will be familiar to my FA students at Concord Fencing Club. It is one of my infamous footwork etudes, and it is the one that we usually use as our warm-up during an FA class. In this etude, we take combinations of 5 different footwork elements, and we shuffle them together in every possible combination in order to provide a systematic method of training. This may require a little bit of explanation, and maybe in a little while I'll try to put together a short video orientation to that particular exercise. But for those of you who are familiar with the drill, or can read the handout and understand my own unique way of explaining things and breaking things down, you don't really need to wait for that video. Take that handout and follow the instructions, and hopefully that will be valuable to you as we get ramped up. The second category is the category of technique. Now, technique is a tricky category to try to address through remote learning. It's really not possible to properly impart new blade work techniques when we can't be together in person to make corrections for all the little tiny errors that any one of us makes when we're first learning a new and unfamiliar activity. But the good news is we all have plenty of actions that we are familiar with and we know how to execute, and that's what these 2 exercises are designed to do. So the first is a compound parry exercise designed to promote fluidity with your parry riposte sequence, and the second one is compound attack exercise designed to promote fluidity of your multiple disengages and feints when you're trying to put together a relatively complex compound attack. And for each of those, we will put together an introductory video in the weeks to come. But again, for now, I hope that for at least some of you will find the handouts as they are to provide sufficient instruction and guidance that you can start working on those exercises right away. Now, the third category is the heading that we title Tactics. This is another one that's a little bit difficult to do in terms of instruction remotely, but the way we want to try to address tactics through the remote fencing program is through a watch party. And so what we're going to do is Coach Sean Brooks is going to host a series of Facebook watch parties based on FIE published videos of world-class fencing competition. And he's going to provide commentary on that and point out specifically particular tactics that are being used by fencers, and try to direct our attention to the kind of thinking and planning and strategic and tactical analysis that fencers and their coaches are using during these very high level bouts, and try to understand how we can apply that same kind of thinking to our own fencing. The fourth and final category is theory. And theory, it's a T, perhaps would have been better titled Rules and Concepts, because that's what we're focusing on here. The most concrete application of the various concepts and terminology and so forth of fencing is how those are applied when we are asked to referee a bout. And how well do we understand the rules and how well can we apply it? So for that, we have an assignment. We've already distributed our first assignment where we're asking our participants to log into a Facebook page called What's the Call, which offers a bunch of small, short videos that represent sort of challenging situations for the referee, and then there are usually a stream of comments from the various readers offering their opinions about what's the correct interpretation. So our assignment is please watch the short clip, make your decision, how would you call it, and then be prepared to back it up. And so we've got a little form, a worksheet that you can fill out for each one. And we're just going to assign a few videos each week and ask you to take a look and take a stab at being a referee and making the call in these challenging situations. And hopefully that will get your brain working and help you to realize where you may need to study the rules a little more carefully and understand them, and help you to understand more clearly how the rules that you may be familiar with in black and white from the fencing rule book are actually applied in dynamic situations. Now, there are other activities that we may be adding in the future, but that's pretty much the scope of the offerings that you'll see documented here in the training log. I also want to speak briefly about recognition. So when you're participating in the remote training program, we want to recognize, as we've said, the efforts that you've made. It takes a little something extra to motivate yourself to do these things when you're all alone. You don't have your coaches and your club mates to inspire you and to exert that kind of positive peer pressure that it helps you stay on track. And so we've created a special achievement badge to celebrate our participation in this remote training program in lieu of the personal contact that we're accustomed to. And we'll talk more about that maybe in another video. So anyone who is a registered student at CFC or a donor to CFC is eligible to participate in this program. Those of you who've already signed up to register, we want to thank you very much for your support. And anyone else who's interested, you're very welcome, and that we hope that you'll join us. And you'll find more information about how to get engaged with the remote training program, hopefully in the link that you'll find in the comments to this video.